Hello everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are going to do another plot twist. So if you missed episode 1 of this challenge, the series that we're doing, I will leave it linked down below for you, but basically I bought a box of plot twist. These are cards that I purchased that have different books and different reasons why they suggested these books in them, but everything is a mystery. Like literally, they're scratch offs. I have no idea what's on pretty much any of these cards. And so every so often I want to just sort of scratch off one and figure out what we're going to read, and we're going to read it in the vlog. So this is going to be a vlog. We're going to pick our next book. I really enjoyed the one I had last time. I did not guess what it was before I scratched it off, which was great, although I should have. There's a couple of these here that I have guesses as to what they are, and then there is a couple that I know what they are for sure because they were sort of in the preview before I purchased this. I'm pretending I don't know what it is, except for there is a Colleen Hoover in here. I will never read Colleen Hoover, so we're just always gonna skip over that one. But I've decided today I want one that I have no guess whatsoever, because I know that there's probably one that feels like it would be an Agatha Christie. There are some romances. They have lots of genres. So we have contemporary, literary fiction, fantasy, historical fiction, horror, mystery, romance, thriller, and sci-fi. I want to pick something that I have no guess of whatsoever. Like literally have no idea what it could be. The good thing about these is they have like why it was chosen, but it's not going to have any part of the summary. Like it'll tell us what year it was published, it'll tell us a book feel. So like this one has time travel tearjerker, which is actually something that I could pick today. I don't know what that is. I'm curious. I love time travel, but it gives us why they chose it, and it's supposed to be, these are supposed to be like hidden gems, although the book I read last time I don't think was necessarily a hidden gem, but I don't want something that I have a guess for. I want something that I have no idea what it's going to be. So I'm gonna pick a couple cards, read them out to you, and just sort of see what sounds good in the moment. Like I said, the time travel tearjerker might be one, but I'm also curious, like should I pick a sci-fi? Because I love sci-fi, but I feel like I haven't done that as much. I'm also in a really big romance kick. I just posted a video recently of like, here's some new books coming out in the next 3 months, and so many of them I feel like were romance. I absolutely have been loving romance. So like that's also a very good possibility. So I tried not to pick the book that I'm pretty sure is an Agatha Christie. I did include the time travel tearjerker, so we're gonna go through that. And I also tried not to look at page count, because sometimes the number of pages on here makes it a little intimidating. So let's actually start in the order of like things that I thought were good possibilities. I picked 4. I think I picked 4 last time as well. And actually I don't think I picked a romance at all this time. None of them necessarily sounded like the thing that I wanted right now. So we do have the contemporary literary fiction, which was chosen because it's an innovative narrative that weaves everyday life with a tinge of the fantastical. It masterfully delves into human emotions, relationships, and poignant life moments. The unique blend of the ordinary and extraordinary makes it a must-read on our list. Was published in 2020. It is part of a series. It's a time travel tearjerker. It's only 227 pages. I'm trying not to look at that kind of stuff, I'll tell you, but this is one that I almost picked last time, so I'm debating if I really want to pick it this time or if I want something completely new. Then I also found a horror one that I feel like I might end up picking. So it was chosen because this classic horror novel was included for its chilling narrative and exploration of grief and loss. Its ability to invoke fear while simultaneously pulling at the heartstrings is what makes it a standout in horror literature. I like that idea of horror, but something about like, not heartwarming, but like pulling at the heartstrings. It is published in 1983, so it is a classic, or at least classic horror for that they say here. It is not part of a series. The book feel is Grave Consequences, and it is going to be 561 pages. I think it's the biggest out of the ones I have here. I also did pick sci-fi because I really do love sci-fi, and I haven't felt like I picked one in a while. This book was chosen for its innovative storytelling, humor, and exploration of artificial intelligence. A unique and entertaining read for any sci-fi enthusiast. Like, I feel like that sounds really good. Published in 2016, is part of a series. The book feel is multiplying consciousness, and page count is 383. And then we have a thriller. So I picked like a contemporary, a sci-fi, and a horror and a thriller. The thriller says it's a debut novel that revitalizes the thriller genre with its intricate plot and vivid characters. The interactive narrative style with mixed media elements like interview transcripts make the mystery more engaging. I love that idea. Published in 2019, it is part of a series. The book feel is intriguing whodunit, and it's 433. So, see, they all just feel so good. Like, I want... Okay, I want something that I really don't know what it is whatsoever, which is why I picked these. So now I really need to figure out, do I want something more humorous or fantastical, or do I want something that's gonna really make me feel something and think about something? Because I feel like that's sort of what it is. We have the sci-fi and the contemporary that are gonna make me like maybe be happy about stuff, although that contemporary is a time travel tearjerker, so maybe not. But I feel like the horror and the thriller are more like you have to really think and feel. Grave consequences, intriguing whodunit, multiplying consciousness, or a time travel tearjerker. And then we have published in 1983, 2019, 2016, 2020. You know what? Am I really gonna do this to myself? I'm gonna do it. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pick the horror. It is the oldest published. It is the one with the most pages. I really don't know what any of these are whatsoever. I'm gonna do it. Okay, I'm gonna scratch this off and let's see what we get. Well, it's Pet Sematary. I read that last year. I'm not gonna read it again. I should have guessed that, I guess. Like, I really, okay. I wanna say, I did not know what this was going to be. I should have guessed it by the grave consequences. I should have thought, hey, classic horror, Stephen King. I have a whole bunch of Stephen King back here. I will say, I think I gave this 4 or 4.5 stars. I really did like this one. Especially compared to a lot of the Stephen King that I read in that vlog that I did. I've read this one. I've read this one. Okay, back to the drawing board. Let's pick another card. After all that hemming and hawing about what we were gonna pick, okay, so let's have Presley help us. Hey, Presley.
What?
Can you help me?
What can I help with?
Can you pick one of these?
I want... They're cool.
They are. So I have red, green, and orange. Which one do you want to pick right now?
Green.
Okay. Let's check the green one now. Thank you.
What is this?
This is something for a video. Okay, so Presley picked green. This is the sci-fi with the book feel being multiplying consciousness. This is the one that's supposed to be a little bit humorous. So, okay. We have the book We Are Legion, We Are Bob by Dennis Taylor. I have never heard of this one. This is what I wanted with this plot twist box. This is what I wanted. The book that I read last time, I actually had heard of and owned, and I just hadn't read it, which was good. It made me read something that I had owned for a while. I have never heard of this one. I'm gonna have to look it up on Goodreads because I'm so curious. It's book 1 in the Bobaverse, which I love that name.
Wow.
Yeah, published in 2016. I have never heard this one. Bob Johansson has just sold his software company and is looking forward to a life of leisure. There are places to go, books to read, and movies to watch. So it's a little unfair when he gets himself killed crossing the street. Bob wakes up a century later to find that corpuscles have been declared to be without rights and he is now the property of the state. He has been uploaded into computer hardware and is slated to be controlling AI in an interstellar probe looking for habitable planets. The stakes are high, no less than the first claim to entire worlds. If he declines the honor, he'll be switched off, and they'll try again with someone else. If he accepts, he becomes a prime target. There were at least 3 other countries trying to get their own probes launched first, and they played dirty. The safest place for Bob is in space, heading away from Earth at top speed, or so he thinks, because the universe is full of nasties and trespassers make them mad. Very mad. Ooh, how have I never heard of this one? It has 93,000 ratings on Goodreads, which I mean is not a super popular book, but it's not insignificant. Okay, I'm actually very excited about this one. I need to get my hands on this book somehow, because I do not own it, but I'm very excited. Okay, so long time no see for me. I started this video because I was going to be going to like Barnes & Noble or Bookman's or something like that, and I knew I was going to the bookstore to buy something. I didn't really have a plan, but I knew I was going to go buy something, and I wanted the ability to buy the next plot twist book if I saw it at the bookstore. The thing is, the book that it ended up being, which is We Are Legion, We Are Bob, is an indie. So I did not end up buying this book at the bookstore because it wasn't there. It is on Kindle Unlimited, so that is how I'm reading it, but we have since moved. The background is completely different. I started this video in Phoenix. We are now in Washington, and so yeah, I do want to say I have started this one. It's been longer than I thought it was going to be. Like literally, I started this video like, what did I say? Like April-ish. Like it's been months. It's November. But I have started this book. I want to say I read for not quite an hour last night, but like almost. I read until I was like so tired I could not stay up anymore. And then I've read a little bit today. The kids are home today. It's the weekend. And so I have not had like a really good sit down time to read. Like Elliot wants me to get up off of this so that she can sit here, which I will let her do in a little bit. But I have gotten probably like almost 20% of the way in, almost. And this is a book that I had never heard of before, which is part of the reason I was super excited to get it for Plot Twist, because I had never heard of it. And that was one of the things I was sort of hoping for with this series that I want to do, and I'm going to continue to do in the next year, with these cards, that I'm hoping there are things that I've never heard of before, along with things that I have heard of or have been maybe interested in reading. And so this, so far, is a sci-fi sort of story. We do follow Bob, and the very first beginning of the story is he was owning like a software company, and I think he got like bought out because now he has come into a lot of money, because at the very beginning of the book, we are basically following him signing paperwork for being cryogenically frozen after he dies, sort of thing. So he's getting all of this kind of stuff set up so that like in the future sometime they can revive him. And pretty quickly after that, he dies. And the next chapter is like Bob 2.0 waking up. And we do come to discover very, very quickly again in this story that he's no longer human. Like they didn't revive him as a human because they were unable to do that. He is now sort of like a computer program. It has memories of who he was previously, but he's not human anymore. And he seems to pretty much be okay with it. There is some technology type of stuff that they've mentioned, especially at the beginning of the book and going into here, space probe type of things. And I think that's what he's sort of going to be doing. We'll see how that goes, because right now, like I said, I'm almost 20% of the way in, and we're still very much in the, like, he is going day by day, trialing things for these people that sort of own him now, that have made him this computer program. I did find it interesting that we're, like, in 2133 now, in, like, the present day of the story. And we're no longer in the United States, even though that's sort of where we started. We are now in a different country. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's based on faith and religion and stuff like that. Like he had this whole world building basically based on if people that were Christians were able to really input their ideology, and potentially not in a good way. They have definitely taken over some different government aspects. They're not allowing other questioning sort of beliefs or other religions and stuff. This whole world has an interesting sort of way of the countries. Like China is its own thing, but a lot of the other Asian countries have merged. The US merged with something else. But then we also have Cascadia. Like it seems like Canada, Washington, and Alaska are their own country sort of thing. I just thought that was interesting that we have that. And based on the way that the story has gone so far, it does not seem like a presidency. Yeah, you did it? Good. That is putting Christianity at the forefront and being very like people that wanted to be cryogenically frozen are no longer people, no longer have rights, no longer are allowed to do anything, is good. So like I did appreciate that. However, it's slow going in that way. The chapters are not long at all, which I'm very much appreciating. They seem to be pretty quick. Like I can finish a chapter in about 5 minutes or less. Like it varies in length, but like they're pretty quick. But because we basically just got into the fact that he's now this computer program in the future in this world that doesn't think he should exist, I'm hoping for more. It seems like we're slowly getting into more of like what he's actually going to be doing and what this world's like those consequences are. And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping this speeds up a little bit because it's not like bad necessarily. I just feel like we've taken a little while to get into what We Are Legion, We Are Bob is going to mean. But it is sci-fi. I'm curious to see where it's going to go. And that's basically all I can tell you right now because I pretty much need to read more. So I guess I'll get up off of here and let Elliot have the beanbag. Presley's also here as well. They like to color in my library, which means it is a mess. I'm not going to be turning my camera around for you guys to see that. But I'm hoping to finish this weekend. So this is like my main priority besides the video games and stuff that I have been doing. Yeah, I want to see more of what this book is going to be about. Okay, so I've read for about half hour more total. Pauses in between because of kids who are currently playing over there. And yes, I know I said I wasn't going to show you the mess that is the library right now, but I did. So I am now like 27, 28% in. I just hit part 2 of this book, We Are Legion, We Are Bob. And I don't know how I feel about it. The writing is okay, but I feel like I haven't gotten to know much of our characters and stuff. Like his part of being human was very, very quick. His part coming to terms of being this new like robotic sort of entity was more just him going through technology and stuff. It wasn't really him talking about people, but we have definite groups of people both in the used to be United States that I think is now called Faith, but like an acronym for something. I think that's what they're actually calling the country, not just like an organization, but other countries as well. They're going into like actual fighting and bombing and like trying to take him out because he's not human and things like that. Space race things as well. Because of this, we're not really getting to know any other characters either, so I'm not really feeling a connect that way. He has since been off into space. He is now like in charge of this big spaceship. I think he is sort of the spaceship. He can also control these like little robotic guys that are not really real. He is creating for himself a VR space in the spaceship so that he can sort of talk to himself, but it's not himself, you know what I mean? And so it's interesting in that way, but like I said, we just got up through part 2. We're not really getting good connections with a lot of other characters because, like, there's not really other characters. Everything's going by so fast that way. But also because of this whole space race, arms race, like, people against him being an AI almost. Like, he's not human anymore. A lot of this last part that I was reading was him thinking about what do I need to do to prevent people trying to blow me up. And it was just him going through different scenarios while he's going through, like, faster than light speed travel to Epsilon something. I forgot what it is. He's going somewhere to do something, and I actually don't even know what the whole point of him going somewhere is. It's some sort of, like, space probe, space satellite thing, but, like, what is the point of it? No idea. So, like I said, I'm like 28% in now. I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break because I just got to part 2. I do want to read more today. I want to try and finish this. I'm hoping for more, but, like, right now, if I was going to call it, I could easily DNF and not really care. Not because there's anything bad necessarily, just because nothing's really going on. If I didn't DNF and the whole book stays like this, I would say 3-star. Like, nothing super amazing, nothing actually bad, just sort of in the middle for me. I would never reread it. I know this is the first book in a trilogy, I want to say, as well. So I do want to give it another chance. I do want to see more, figure out more, especially because it is something that got recommended for this plot twist. I have the card here with a bunch of dust on it. But the reason why it was chosen, you guys have probably seen it semi-recently and know I don't remember. It was chosen for its innovative storytelling, humor, and exploration of artificial intelligence. It's a unique and entertaining read for any sci-fi enthusiast. I will say, yes, I do think they're definitely exploring the AI sort of thing. The humor of it, I don't think I'm really there yet, and I think it's mostly because he's supposed to be like a 31-year-old man from this century. And so far, he's talked a little bit about current day sci-fi pop culture, current day. He's mentioned Klingons, he's mentioned Star Trek, he's mentioned a couple other, like, Foundation or, you know, a couple other types of things, but, like, he's only mentioning them. He's not really explaining them. So he's literally just, like, name dropping current day things, and the people from the future that he was talking to don't understand what he's talking about. Not really. So, like, that sort of humor, not my thing. And then in the same vein, like, when he was talking about, like, Klingons and stuff, he does mention that he feels like he's very immature because when he was building a sandbox to test things out in the spaceship, he built an actual VR sandbox, like an actual kid's sandbox. And I'm like, do you really need to call yourself immature for that? Like, I just thought it was fun until you were basically saying that you did it because you're immature. I don't know. That sort of rubbed me the wrong way. So I don't know I'm getting the humor yet. I'm gonna read more. Okay, so I did read some last night. We're currently in the next day. Yay, making Play-Doh. Cats?
Yeah, a cat.
Oh, good job. A big cat?
Yeah.
Okay. I helped roll the balls. Oh, it fell down? Okay, good job. So I read almost halfway through the book last night, and then I read some more this morning. Elliot is showing you her goldfish, and there it is. Good job. Okay. And I'm now like 66% in, so like about 2/3 of the way in. I have a little under 2 hours left to go in the book, and still need to finish it to get my full thoughts, but basically we are following the bomb. A character named Bob, who I explained earlier in the video. And I said that I wasn't sure what the actual purpose of people bringing him back as this, like, AI computer thing. We did get into that a little bit in last night's part that I was reading. Basically, they're supposed to be, like, going out and discovering habitable planets in other systems. And so he ended up going to Epsilon Eridani or something like that, which was like 11 light years almost away. And so because he was able to travel more than light speed. He was able to get there in like 3 or 4 years. So it was like quicker than like what it would have been if we were just traveling light speed. And I was saying they because there were other countries that had other replicants like him. And now we've also gotten to him being there and other stuff going on, and he can self-replicate as well. So like he's like a von Neumann probe or something like that, where there was this whole thing at the very beginning of the book about like, what do you need to be this probe? Like, what is this thing? And it's basically self-replicating. So like you send these probes out and they can replicate themselves to then go and explore more things. Humans wouldn't have to track it. And so they were like, oh, 3D printers. And so like they have, because it's like 2133 when this like present day starts, they have like 3D printers that can print almost anything. And so once he gets this new system, it's not 2133 anymore, obviously, it's like 2144, and he can then replicate himself. So now we have a bunch of Bobs. We are Legion, we are Bob, going around. He's the only one called Bob. He has made everybody else have different names. So like one of the people that he creates is not Bob anymore, it's Riker, and it's very Star Trek focused. They do have a lot of that. I will say I personally like Star Trek, and I do think that some of this book is very inspired by that. I do think they've been mentioning some of that kind of stuff a little bit much, but we have multiple different Bobs, and so now the chapters are like, oh, Bob is doing this in this time period, and then like here's Bill, and here's Riker, and here's Calvin, and like there's different names for these different Bobs. And the reason I need to continue reading this to figure out my full thoughts on it is we're going back and forth between all these different people. And so Bob has decided to go out and explore a different star system because the Epsilon Eridani one that they were in is not going to be good for life. But Bill, who was another person that he created, is going to stay there and like do production on like a space station and communications and things like that. And then Riker is taking a different Bob to go back to Earth to see if there's anybody there anymore, because they haven't heard anything, but again, multiple light years away type of stuff. And so there's a lot of back and forth between these different Bobs. And some of the stuff I like more than others. Like I don't really care about Riker going back to Earth and trying to deal with any sort of people that are left there. And then like the stuff that is Bill related, it's not super interesting. It's just like being built of stuff. And then we had multiple chapters of different Bobs going to these different star systems and literally taking inventory of the star system. Like, here is this star, it is bigger than our star, and that means it has more planets or less planets, or you know, whatever it is. And then here are the inner planets, and then there was an asteroid belt, and then they had the Jovian planets, and this one had rings and this one didn't have rings, or this one didn't have good enough climate for Earth. And it was like very like technical, sort of that way. Like my son Presley, who absolutely loves space, probably would be really interested in seeing some of that listed out and talked about. Yes, you, talked about. I thought it got a little repetitive. Some of it was sort of interesting at the beginning because they are tasked with finding habitable zones and things like that. I will say that the one part that I am sort of enjoying is now Bob, the original Bob, sort of finding what seems to be life on a different planet in a different solar system in a different galaxy and stuff like that. And I find that fascinating. I think that is very intriguing. But again, we're going back and forth between different Bobs. And so I'm curious about his journey, which was sort of our original Bob, except for the computerized version of him, because he's also not the original Bob anymore. But then everybody else is just not as intriguing for me. So this is the first book in a series. I do, like I said, I'm 2/3 of the way in. I have less than 2 hours to go. I'm gonna finish it today or tomorrow because I want to read more. But I'm just at that part with so many different points of view that are supposed to be sort of the same person, but also not, that are doing too many different things. I wish it was almost just Bob and his journey, because I find what he's currently doing the most interesting part of this story. So yeah, that's where we're at. Like I said, I'm going to read more shortly. It's like almost 3 p.m. Elliot is officially on no nap duty. No naps anymore. So right now we're hanging out. Earlier we did coloring and we had some lunch and they did some racing and playing and things like that. So we're trying to keep that energy going for no naps because I think I mentioned this in a video semi-recently, or actually it was a short video semi-recently because I didn't put a video up. I had been having some troubles with her and bedtime and her fighting bedtime and going to bed way, way too late. And she is not quite 2.5 yet, but I think we're officially done with nap time. She has not had a nap for 3 days officially now, and has gone to bed earlier. Still is sort of fighting bedtime, but not as bad because she's actually she's tired by that point in time. But that means we have to figure out things during the day for them to do, for her to do, especially Presley's home because it's the weekend. So I need to find stuff for them both to do. And that also means I do not get a break until after she goes to bed. Whereas when Presley had school and she had naps, I had time to sit and film or sit and edit or read or play games or whatever. I don't really have that. So I'm feeling that a little bit, but, like I said, we've only had about 3 days total where she hasn't had a nap at all. The day before that, she ended up falling asleep at 5 p.m. because it was just not used to it. So we're getting there. I'm hoping it'll be good. And hopefully we'll get into a really good schedule soon because, yeah, no naps. But hopefully that means earlier to bed. So, yeah, okay. I'm done with my update for now. I will probably see you guys when I finish the book. Okay, so it is the next day, but I did finish the book last night. So let me give you some final thoughts. I do think it's going to be a 3-star for me. I just don't think it fully came together to be more than that. I do think there are going to be some people that really enjoy this. It is very much sci-fi. What does it mean to be artificial intelligence or to be somebody that used to be a human but is technically not anymore? And he does have the replicants of himself. And I do think some of the things like that are interesting. I thought it had great potential to be very, very interesting. However, like I mentioned before, not all of his different selves are interesting. I was hoping for more, and as you get further into the book, you do get more points of view technically because he branches out more and more. He created 3 other people or whatever, and then those people eventually created more people, and then those people eventually created more people. So there's lots of Bobs in this Bobaverse. And so it's an interesting concept, but one of the people going back to Earth to see what's happening there, it ended up being very sort of political type of stuff. Wasn't my thing. Then we also have this conflict with a different replicant from Brazil or something like that. And again, it wasn't super interesting. We do have this sort of conflict, but it's not mentioned very often, and it doesn't seem to be high priority. So I didn't really care about that. The only part that I really liked, like I mentioned before, was where we were actually following Bob, the first replicant, Bob 2.0, and him discovering a different planet that looks like it has, life on it and things like that. I really liked that part. I will say some of it did devolve into a little bit do we kill off this sort of group versus this sort of group? I don't know, I didn't really enjoy that part either. I don't know. There was things that had very good potential here, but it didn't feel like there was any big motivator for stuff happening except for their whole purpose was to find planets that could support human life. But even though it's supposed to be set in the future where almost a nuclear war type of thing happened and there's supposed to be consequences for actions, it didn't feel like we had enough urgency. And then let me just tell you, the book ends. It just ends. There are more books in the series, and I think that's part of it, but it didn't really give us a conclusion. It didn't feel like anything was concluded at all. A lot of the different Bobs going out and doing stuff had different plot points because they're going out and finding other solar systems and other places like that, other star systems. But we never really got good conclusions for what Bob was doing or for what Riker was doing, I mean, sort of, or like some of the other guys, like we just didn't, it just sort of ended. And so because of that, I was like, oh, we're done now. Okay. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I do really appreciate that Plot Twist was able to give me something that I had never heard of. The first video that we did for this, I got a book that I had heard of, a lot of people had heard of. I hadn't read, I actually owned, but I hadn't read. So I was very happy with that. This one, I started off picking something that I actually had read like last year. So that's why we moved on to something else. And I'm very happy, even though I didn't enjoy the book as much as I was hoping for, like the first video. I'm happy that I was able to discover something that I had not thought of or ever had heard of before. Like that is sort of what I want for this. So my thing that I want to leave you guys with, because I do definitely want to do more of these. I don't know if I'll get to one in December, but I do still have the Plot Twist box, is think of what kind of book you would like me to try next, because we have a whole bunch of different genres. So like we have thriller and contemporary and fantasy and mystery and historical fiction, romance, sci-fi. So like we have a lot of different things here, and I picked fantasy last time, and obviously this time I picked sci-fi. I tried to pick horror because I think there's a horror. Did I mention there's horror? There's horror. I tried to pick horror last time at the beginning of this, and obviously it did not work because of the fact that I had already read it. So there are those genres to pick from. So like I said, I have picked a fantasy and a sci-fi, and I tried to pick a horror. Is there a specific genre you think I should gravitate towards next time? Because obviously I do pick what I think I'm in the mood for, because it really just gives me like moods and things like that for these. But what do you think I should try for? And that is going to be it for today. I will be doing more plot twists and things like that. But again, maybe starting in 2025, just because we are getting into December soon. It's almost American Thanksgiving here. So yeah, if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I currently have videos coming out Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I will see you then. Bye.